That would be nice.
Well, not really. It was just a chunk.
They still would take it though.
I don't think so.
What, really?
Not
Oh,
very much.
we can ask people listening. Okay, welcome to Spirit Café Sessions, everyone, with Nikki and
Still can?
Still Kim. That's your new thing, is just Nikki and Still Kim. I
Yeah.
love it. We were just talking about how some places will take bills even if they're half bills. Up here in Ontario, anyway.
Oh, well, this one was only a quarter, like a corner. If it was been, it would have
And
been.
it wasn't even a bill.
No,
It was a
it's from a
wrapper, guys.
granola bar.
Our money is colored. That's
But it
why.
has the same colors. Like it has it,
I know, but that's what I'm
right?
saying. Our money's colored because some people are from the States and there's no
Oh, yeah.
color,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. We got
Yes, no color.
Monopoly looking money.
I love our Monopoly looking money. That does, in fact, smell like maple syrup, at least the $100 bill.
Huh.
My brother was right.
I can't say I've ever even smelled it.
Yeah, I did, just to see if he was wrong. He's never wrong. Anyway,
Never wrong. Good.
I'm going to apologize in advance, guys, because for this episode, I was up at 3 a.m. and I couldn't get back to sleep. And it was
Hmm.
no full moon, nothing. I think I overslept on the weekend. It was the holiday weekend, so I slept like 8 hours, and I usually don't. So I'm pretty sure my body was like, "Okay, you're done after 4." So I'm probably gonna yawn a lot in this episode, to which I'm gonna apologize. There's one coming now. Oh my God. It's the worst because now everybody listening is gonna yawn. I hate that. I hate it.
Maybe they need
Anyway,
to. It's a release, right?
it is seen as a release. It is.
Hmm.
Maybe it's my Aries rising burning out with all these planets in Aries. I've been a go, 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 go for the last couple of weeks,
Oh,
but I like it.
fun times. Fun times.
All right.
So,
This episode is one that we talk about in almost every episode because Kim and I actually, before we started recording, went back because we thought we talked about this one, gave it a full episode already, but we didn't, which is so weird because it's such a big topic.
hmm
How, how did we not put spirituality and spiritual awakening in the first like 10 episodes? Who
well,
knows?
we did do the Dark Night of the Soul. So,
We did.
in a
Toxic
way,
positivity.
yeah.
We talk. It filters in and out, right? So
Hmm.
this episode, everybody, is about spiritual awakenings.
And kind
But
of the
we're gonna,
aftermath.
yes, I was gonna say we're gonna hone in on what happens after and how it can feel very lonely because Kim and I get all these questions all the time. And if you listen to our Q&A, we had one about somebody wanting to, just dabble and check out spirituality, and because the religion that they were part of no longer resonated to them, and what it would, the effect it would bring on their life, right? So I think it's a good episode to do,
Hmm.
right? Spirituality and what does it cost in a sense, right? And the card that I pulled, the tarot card I pulled, I love it, is the Eight of Pentacles. Not because it's one of my favorite cards, but it does mean working on things. It does mean, putting the pedal to the metal in a sense, figuring your stuff out, seeing a goal, seeing a vision, and putting your all behind it. And a lot of people, when they see this card, they're like, "Oh my God, that's the card of a workaholic. That's the card of me not having a good night's rest because this is due at work and this is due." It can be, but it's actually also the card of you working on yourself. This is what people don't understand with tarot. It's not, they're not, no card falls into left and right. There's always a gray area. And the Eight of Pentacles is a perfect example because half the time when I pull this card, I'm not pulling it for a workaholic. I'm pulling it for someone who's working on themselves or wanting to work on themselves and not wanting anything to distract themselves. So this actually, perfect
Or
card
are
to come
you
out for this
pulling it for a
episode.
workaholic? Hmm.
Well, I am a workaholic, yes. But
And
I'm
me,
I'm gonna take a vacation soon.
the both of us.
I know you shouldn't have worked on the. I feel like I'm bad influence.
No, no, it's not you at all. Trust me. It's long ingrained. It's in my genes. Been doing it for
That's what.
years. That's how we
Ugh,
found each other, I
that is how
guess.
we found each other.
Hmm.
You found me.
I did. I did.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
We
So
drink it?
let's just get going. Oh, what am I drinking? Yeah. So my mother has went to Europe today. Again, off she goes. Um, my mother doesn't really gallivant all the time. She gallivants once or twice a year, which I guess is gallivanting actually to Europe. So because she's gone for the month, and she lectured me in front of the dinner table at Easter to not do anything stupid when she's gone, because she says I have a habit of doing something foolish when she's gone. I do, but I'm too busy, I told her this year, to do that. And I'm also traveling. So I'm drinking the tea she brought me from Egypt, which is the hibiscus lemon tea. I love it. It's tart but yet sweet. And I put a little bit of honey in it because the other day I lost my voice from talking too much. And I can't do that during the podcast because then I'll feel bad, because then Kim's going to have to talk for like 50 minutes. And I know she'll do it because she's a trooper. But
True.
still. Anyways, that's what I'm drinking today.
Oh, sounds yummy.
And Kim, you're
Sounds
drinking
yummy.
your
Oh, I got the electrolytes going.
your electrolytes.
I do. My vat of water with my electrolytes. So, yes.
Okay. Spirituality. What does it
Yes.
cost? Kim, you open this one up.
Well, I know there's a lot of people that come to me for readings, things like that. And a lot of times, the people who are coming for readings are going through something. They're going through something that they can't understand, they can't explain. I basically, I guess for me, the best way I ever described it was the existential crisis. When you just go through that. And by the time they start to realize there's something different, a lot of times these people are questioning relationships, whether it be romantic, friends, family, because a lot of times what happens when you have gone through this, and nobody really tells you, but a lot of those people are going to just go away.
Yes.
Which also can lead to making your emotions even worse, because now you're starting to question, like, is it me? What's going on, and why are we losing all these people? But I can tell you for sure that there is a reason why these people have left or disappeared. And what happens when you go through a spiritual awakening, it's actually quite beautiful after you can sit down and yes, because this we're talking about after you kind of sit down and just went, oh my God, what was that? And you're looking around and you don't have a lot of people around you. But you will also notice that there will be new people in your life.
Yep.
You will have found people who have somehow, you've somehow found out of nowhere, very weird ways, because you've been put together through the divine. And so
It's alignment. It's like energy alignment, right?
So that's the problem, is the people who have kind of fallen aside, whether there was an argument, whether there was just a quiet
departure.
Like sometimes there's no big event to it. It's because they're no longer in alignment with you. And you will find, and it's so lonely, because you start to question your past, everything in your past. Like, did it mean anything to them? What did it mean to me? Because this is what it is. You're now seeing everything like wide open. You've got everything wide open, and you're seeing it, and you're starting to try to make sense at a different level of vibration.
And the veil's lifted. You're in Wonderland, basically.
Yeah, you are, and you're gonna see things that, and start to come to conclusions of things that may not be popular in your ideals, amongst the people you learn. I do find that a lot of people during this last 6 years, it has caused a lot of strife amongst humanity. And you will find the ones who are awakening and enlightening are not as pulled into it as the others. Almost like somebody had posted something the other day and said, on one of the Facebook pages, and said, like, how did you know, that you had kind of gone through this or whatever? And I just said, well, my big thing is things didn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
There's certain, democratic processes that you have very different opinions on. You see everything in a bigger picture. You're no longer seeing the little things. You know, if you have that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And the people who have left you are people who are still sweating the small stuff, sweating
Yes.
or
Yep.
still in there. And that's not because there's anything wrong with them, but you know, because you were there prior. But this is part a spiritual awakening levels you up for better
Does
things, and you will get rid of things that are no longer that no longer resonate with you. So know that there's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing that you've done. It's just where you are now because you've gone through this. I can tell you, if you've gone through it, you know. You know,
oh
people
yeah.
can't be like, "Oh, have I gone through it?" No, you know. You
Yeah.
know.
You also don't just go through one. That's a common misconception. You have one spiritual awakening and you're done. No, that would be nice.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
we're not that lucky. It's one, and then it will be continuous others because you're constantly at that point, I guess, vibrating higher. You're
Yeah,
constantly learning and stuff. So
you're
there's never
leveling
really
up.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're leveling up. Yeah.
Hmm.
Never just one.
And you'll find a lot of those relationships again that you had, whether it's with family, romantic, friends, you know, they're not on the same page as you. So you find that just general conversations aren't interesting to you. You want
Yeah.
something of sustenance. You want something that can make you
Yep.
think. You want something that isn't just kind of like watching a movie and thinking, you know, I know how this
Yeah.
is going to
It's true
end,
though.
you know, and it's very hard to watch that uh, when you think that you're missing the boat because you're not. You're actually just ahead of it.
Yeah. But you're right. You're absolutely right because the mundane conversations, they just start losing the appeal to you. How was your weekend? I mean, there was times where people would ask me, and I've said this to Kim all the time. How was your weekend? What did you do? And I'd be like, what do you care what I did on the weekend? What do you care? It's not a conversation I want to have anymore. I used to pre-spiritual awakening days. I was definitely one of those people. How are you? What are you doing? What's the weather like and stuff like that. And then that's the stuff that bores you. It's not going to bore you every time, but it does. You want to talk about things where that you guys can bond over, that you can learn, right? Like that's what it is. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, and they don't expect that when they start going through a spiritual awakening. They don't expect that they're having the same conversations with their spouse or with their sister or with their mother, their father, their best friend, and they just are so bored, and they just then start spending less and less time with them. And that's what Kim means. You think that there's something wrong with you. And if you do, of course, go to therapy. 100%. Go to your doctor, go to
Absolutely.
therapy. Don't disregard it. But don't think it odd if all of a sudden you just find yourself gravitating naturally away from spending a lot of time with these people. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just, like Kim said, you've evolved. That's it. That's all that it is. And it comes at the cost of, you know, losing a lot of connections. It does. It does. But they're replaced with so many better ones. I'm telling you, so many better ones. I have lost people that I never thought I was going to lose. I know for a fact Kim was through the same thing more than once. And then when those people leave your life, I'm telling you, amazing people enter. Okay. And you don't, and I know people get depressed over it, and you should grieve relationships, because it meant something
Absolutely.
for you. But you should also try to see the joy that you had in it when that relationship resonated with you. What did you learn? What didn't you learn? What did you love about that relationship? And by the way, never think that that relationship will not resurface, because I'm telling you, it most likely will when they hit that level, but that could be in a few years, could be in a few months, could be in a decade. But generally, you meet that person again at least once in your lifetime to know if they're on the same level as you now, or if they're still just, you know, down there.
Still there. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with them being there.
Yeah.
We just want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you. It's not, you know, it could have been something you said or did, but it wasn't. If you did or sit or you said something or did something, it wasn't because you were being malicious. It was because you were coming from a different source of knowledge than they are prepared to come from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You know what's interesting? And Kim knows this. But there was somebody that was in my life. How old am I now? I'm 38, right, Kim?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
I wasn't there,
So,
but
so 30, yeah, so about 15 years ago, there was somebody in my life who him and I had a very, very deep connection, and I was it was a him. And it was very toxic though, and you're young and your brain is everywhere and not where it should be. Let's just put it that way. And the bond was very, very intense. And then we parted ways. And obviously I moved on, he moved on and stuff like that. But I had always wondered in the back of my head, because this was one of the very first connections, of very first relationships where I actually felt an intense bond with somebody in a romantic sense. Okay. Now I realize that was not love. I thought it was love, but it was not. But it was one of the first meaningful, impactful relationships, negatively and positively, I went through. And I always thought in the back of my head, up until, I'm telling you, my 30s, my early 30s, how this person was doing. I hoped that they were doing well, but I instinctively knew that they were not, because I had the knowing, right? And I recently ran into this individual about two years ago, nope, maybe a year ago, and we've seen each other several times since. And the hardest part is seeing that he is still where I left him. There was no involvement there. And it sucks, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt me like I thought it would when I found out, because years ago I thought, if I ever run into him and his life is terrible and it sucks, I'm gonna be so heartbroken. And then and it's weird, because I was not heartbroken. I was empathetic because he had lots of struggles, but I think I was very grateful for the relationship that we had and for the fact that we got to reconnect. So please don't discount like that. You will potentially run into people you have left in your old life, because I call it's your old life. It's your old timeline, right? You will run into them eventually, or you will hear something and it gives you a clarity that perhaps as you kept moving forward in your life, you didn't get, you know? Because we wonder that. Like, we wonder when people leave our lives and we are on the journey of spirituality and we're researching and we're trying to get better and we're wondering about those people that are no longer in our life. And sometimes we feel bad because sometimes we are the ones that had to exit. In my case, that was what had happened, and you have that guilt. But the amazing thing with the universe and God and energy, whatever it is you guys believe in, is they will always show you. It might take 15 years, but it could also take a couple months. And then it will make you feel good despite what you see. It will. You'll find meaning behind it, always.
I also find that when those relationships end, what previously would have made you maybe angry or judgmental, or, just like, oh, I should never have done that, or you feel resentment, you feel all those feelings. But once you've had a spiritual awakening, you don't have those feelings anymore. It's more like I'm, and I say this and people kind of look at me like I'm crazy, but I talked about my life and then I always say, but I am grateful for absolutely everything that happened,
Yeah.
because if I didn't go through everything that I did back then, I wouldn't be where I am today. And 100 billion percent, I would not be doing, I wouldn't be a minister.
No.
Absolutely not. Uh, I wouldn't feel a freedom that I had never felt before, because I used to always I would hold a grudge. Like, I was a grudge queen, and now I don't. And it frustrates me when people in my life sit there and trash talk people in my past because I don't know the reason. And
Yeah.
then they
Yeah.
get so
But I know what you're
upset
saying.
when kind of say, hey, like, I went through this. This
Yeah.
was part of what I needed to go through, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Just so everyone's aware, Kim did go through some pretty hard stuff. Sometimes I find when people talk about, oh, I went through something hard, like Kim said, you are met with people who are a little judgmental. Okay, well, how hard could it have actually been? I'll just chime in that it was pretty freaking hard for Kim. Pretty
I
freaking hard for Kim.
Yeah,
So, yeah, but she went through heavy stuff, and look, like, it's just that she's an example that she never would have guessed that she would have been right here.
no, I
Never.
I was angry. I was angry. I thought that, prior. And just now, even, people sit there and they do, oh, okay, like you hear like kind of the doomsday. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening in the universe or
Doomsday.
whatever. And I I really think I do frustrate people because I say, well, if it happens, it happens, but
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not worried
yeah.
about it because I know that I'm good no matter what. And
That's what I say.
you
They get
know,
mad. You're right. People get upset.
if you're not like all into there,
Oh,
that's like it's and I think that makes you lose friends too, right? Because people want to have like some kind of a connection, like and to have like a disdain for something, like they want someone to dig in there and be all angry about it. But when you've had an awakening, there's none of that because you now
nah.
see it as a lesson. You see that it's not, these are, yeah, maybe this stuff's going to happen, but what are you going to do about it? How are you
That's
going to stop
exactly
it?
it. That's exactly it.
you know
Right?
um you can't
That's
stop it.
exactly it.
You don't, no matter if you vote or whatever, you don't have a choice as to what happens.
No, you don't,
um
people.
you
FYI.
know yeah, this is where we get into trouble. um
Okay.
right, it's just because people think, like if I say I don't vote, like, well, suddenly I'm not a true citizen with wanting, and it's like, well, what really, whatever I vote, what is the outcome going to be, right?
This
um
reminds me of all the questions I get about people asking us like what political party we're a part of. And I never
None.
none. We're both like we're libertarians. None.
None. I am. I. Yeah, and honestly, like I think that's a big problem for people when, because really, there are people who are spiritually awakening, and you always like, oh, are you woke, or like they're different. Those things are kind of different, um, in my opinion, because when people are
Mhm.
talking about woke, we're talking about you know genders and things like that, like being, making sure that stuff is addressed. I personally, I understand those things. But to me, that's just, that's part and parcel of being alive and just kind of being a decent person. Not having prejudice against people. And I am just going to be the person I am, that can look myself in the mirror every day and know that I've lived my life and I've done things for people that make me proud of who I am.
Exactly.
You know,
And that's the most important thing. One of the
hmm
most important things, I should say. One of the
yeah.
most important things.
But
Yeah,
it's so incredibly lonely. You'll
it
find
is.
yourself crying because, like, what did I do wrong? Or, like, why does this person not talk to me? And then you just realize, well, probably also you've probably stopped talking to them.
Yeah.
Whether I found that, and nothing against people, but a lot of times it would be exhausting to reply to some text messages or emails
Yes.
because you wouldn't know what to say, because you weren't sure how it would be received and you just didn't want to. So, that can quietly make you disappear as well,
Yeah.
right?
Your
And it,
your emotional bandwidth changes. The
mhm,
things that you allow to disrupt your peace. Um, it's not that you disassociate or you lose interest. You just become indifferent because you know that it's not going to matter in a month from now.
mhm,
So that's what she means. So it's normal. It's so normal.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're just, it just doesn't bother you anymore.
And you also realize that not that you wouldn't realize it before, but you really realize that what other people say, do, think have nothing to do with
Oh yeah.
how you act, what you say, you do, you think. Um, you are responsible for how you let other people's actions, words, whatever, make you feel. And it is pretty amazing when you can have somebody and know that people maybe don't like you and that they talk about you. And it's a pretty awesome feeling to be like, I don't care.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I find that sometimes people don't believe it, right?
Oh, I know
Um,
they don't.
and and then they're like, "Yes, you do." I'm like, "No, I really don't."
And then
And
that
then they
makes
get
them
argumentative.
upset.
And then they get upset. I'm like, why do you care if I care? And that's when I go, why do you care if I care?
Yeah.
Or my favorite thing is someone tells me something. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, it is what it is. Well, don't you care? No, not really, because it doesn't affect my life. It's their
Mm-hmm.
life. Let them
Mm-hmm.
do what they want. They
Yep.
got lessons to learn.
Yep.
I got my own. I'm not going to worry about them. They're fine. They're good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you'll
That's one
find
of my
that
favorite things.
you will find those people who are, want you to, like I said, dig into something, like, oh, I can't believe he did that, or I can't believe she did that. And oh my gosh. And you just be like, okay, well, let them do what they want to do. It's not I'm not their judge and jury.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not their guardian.
I just recently actually had a conversation with someone in my life who can be quite negative all the time. And I just reminded this person that, when you cross over, you go through, you do a life review. And in that life review, you are going to experience how you made every single person in your life feel at those points in time. So if you are doing things that are making people upset, angry, even elated, happy, joyful, you are going to feel all those. So when you take your steps each day and when you do things, have that in mind.
Be mindful.
How do you want to feel when it's your time to have your life review? Do you want to be bombarded with how awful that you made people feel? Because a lot of people do that, sometimes not on purpose, but there's a lot of people who get hurt, and then that's where the relationships stop and there's no fixing it, there's no anything. So
Yeah.
you just, you know, live with intention and with the knowledge that when that time comes, you want to feel how you made other people feel.
Yeah.
And you want that to be a good feeling.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
true. Yeah.
Not saying everybody's perfect, but some people can just be vindictive and think, well, this will make me feel better. But do you really think telling off someone or doing something, saying something to someone, does that really make you feel better?
For a
No.
couple of hours to a day, and then after that you're right back where you started from. That's why I warn people, don't lose it. Stop and assess the situation and have that emotional control, because I guarantee you're going to tell me you feel better. And I don't I actually talk about this all the time with a good friend of mine. I don't care if you tell me that moment in time it's going to feel better. I know for a fact you're not. And then they always come back, and then a couple days later or a day later or a couple hours later, I'm spiraling, I'm crying, I'm crashing out. Did you? And did it help you, confronting them? Did it help you stooping to their level? Did it help you push back like that? And then they're like, "No." So don't do it.
Nope.
Don't do it. Don't bring yourself down to that unnecessary level, and don't meet them in that unkindness, right? Something that we have to remember.
Oh, and do people ever get mad when you are kind to them and they
Yeah,
can
what is
understand
that?
why? I don't know. It's
I
just
get that
like,
all the time.
and so many people will actually not like you because you're
No,
too
because you're
kind.
nice. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh my God.
if it's silly,
That is a big one.
a lot of times you won't find people who will reciprocate in your kindness, in your generosity. And so,
Or make you feel bad about it. And you're like, what?
yeah. So if you're going to
Oh
do
my
those
God.
things, if you're going to be like that, know that it's not, not necessarily always going to hit the right spots, but or hit everyone, but it will, sorry, I should say it will hit the right people.
The right people. Yeah.
And then it's your job to only give your, well, don't give your power away, but only give those things to the people who are going to reciprocate, or that you feel
Absolutely.
reciprocate. If you do something for somebody a couple times and they just never seem to bother to think about you, don't do it for them
Don't
anymore.
do it.
Think about yourself, because you are now the most important person. And you
That's absolutely
realize,
true.
because you're now sovereign, you are your own person. You're not, what you do for a job, whatever. This is you. Everybody is unique, whether you've got, different diagnostic things, like
Hmm.
health wise or brain wise or whatever. All those little things make up a very unique person. And that's the person that you need to look after and make sure that that person is being looked after, you know, the best that you could ever imagine. And I did talk, I guess this does kind of go into the, don't treat yourself like the thrift store version, but
Yeah,
it's
that's a
really
slogan.
hard. It's
It
really,
is hard.
really hard.
It is
So
hard. It
hard,
is hard.
you know.
Um,
Ugh.
and after you awaken the first time, actually, this every time, you will, as Kim says, you do get a little hard on yourself. You do get a little hard at yourself, and you don't mean to. It's just natural. It's just the way that we're made up as human beings. We will instinctively go to what is wrong with me, like what is happening again, like why can't I hold on to relationships? Why do all my friendships fall apart? Why we do that over and over again, right? Like we're very good at emotional cutting as a race here on the planet. And then what we'll do, I find often, is we dive into research, right? We dive into these meditation, these spiritual practices, and I call it the research hole or the research pit. And the reason why I call it that is I'm not against it because I read and research crazy. Okay, I like it, but I have fallen into this hole where after my first spiritual awakening, or maybe even a handful after, I went down the rabbit hole of something. I got immersed in, chakra. I got immersed in meditation. I got immersed in the law of assumption and the law of attraction, which I didn't like very much. But you do that. You fall into these pits, I call them, and you research all this stuff looking for answers or trying to figure out why are you disconnecting, why are you losing these people. And the reason I call it a research pit is because we fall in there and we read and we research, and we all do this, but we don't practice it. We take all the information in and it sits there, and we sits there with us in this pit and nothing happens, right? Research, figure it out, and start practicing. Because even if you start practicing something that doesn't resonate, right? Like for some people, meditation doesn't resonate. Perfect. The law of assumption, law of attraction doesn't resonate. Perfect. It will lead you to something else that does. It always leads you to something else that does. That's going to help you get the answers and realize that this path of loneliness, you kind of got to go through it a little bit after. You do. You got to go through it a little bit.
But it's
Yeah.
you've broken down your ego.
Yeah,
You have,
that's what it is. Yeah.
and so you're just trying to get like a stable, you need to be
Like that
stable
foundation.
between your past and your current and your future. And so living it now, doing things in the present, staying in the present will help you, because there's no sense regretting actions, only writing them. So if you've done something that's wrong, don't worry about like, oh, I did it, it was wrong, I shouldn't have done this. Like that's not helpful at all. If you've done something that has caused harm to somebody else and you're aware of it, that's you when you've awakened, you have a better ability to say, I am really sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I should not have done that. Um, you know, and you just, you take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people don't like, is when you start taking responsibility for things, they feel like they have to too. And
Yeah.
that's another reason why you will lose people, because that scares people.
Accountability scares people, and a lot of people are never ready to take it because taking accountability validates something within them that they knew they had to work on, or that was perhaps unkind. So that's a big thing. That's a big thing that you come up against after you open your eyes, because 8, 9 years in, I still to this day astounds me the lack of accountability from people older than me or on the same path as me sometimes. That's a big struggle. That's going to be a big struggle. And it's a disappointment. I always feel disappointed with that. And I don't mean to feel disappointed in that sense. I guess I just because I take accountability, and I will take responsibility. I always assume in my head everybody should be doing that at a certain point in their life. And that is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Absolutely not true. I think I read something like 3 out of 8 or 7 people will take accountability. Out of 8 people, only 3 will take actual full accountability because, like you said, there's that fear. There's that ego.
Because your ego says, oh, but if you take accountability, people aren't going to
Yeah.
like you and that's going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
You know, each time I've had one, I have come to release such heavy things. You know, money was a huge, huge thing back, prior to my, I guess, last 15 years. Money was a hard thing, last 15, 20 years. Gosh, time just goes by so fast. It used to be really difficult. And I was always worried, like, if I don't pay this bill, they're going to come and they're going to come after me and, they're going to hunt me down and like life's going to be over and I won't be able to buy anything. And to be quite honest, I did lose everything back then. And I I was upset, but you know what? Nobody came hunting me down at my house. No, there wasn't any, yeah, you could get scary people calling. And this was all just due to, stuff that was actually out of my control, but it was in my control. I could have stepped out. I could have stepped out of the relationship and stopped it a lot sooner before this all got to this point. But it was really scary at the time. But then after that, I didn't have such a negative feeling about money. And because to me, money, you had to have money to get anything. And I didn't have it, so I wasn't going to get anything, and I just
Mhm.
had that negative set. And then when it was just flowing through the bank accounts, like being taken or whatever, and having to sell everything, I actually sold everything, so I didn't have to declare bankruptcy. Um, and I started over with nothing. And I can tell you that once I realized, or again, because it happened more than once, I can rebuild. I can make more money. I
Mhm.
can still enjoy experiences. I can still do all this stuff and not be worried about it. And in addition, as you go longer, you start to realize, oh, wow, if I just know that it's always going to come and I'm always going to be okay, I will be
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
And that's when the magical things start to happen.
It's true. It's honestly true. And just FYI, it won't come easy to you, the knowing,
No, no.
the dedication, the discipline, the absolute conviction. It won't come to you after your first spiritual awakening. It might not come to you after your third or fourth. It's something you build up at. Okay, I'm sure, hey, there's some lucky people out there that after their first spiritual awakening, boom, they just know, and the resistance to things, like Kim said, money drops. Kim has no resistance to money now. That is why it flows, right? But if it doesn't happen right away with you, don't beat yourself up about it. I had huge resistance to money until I was around 32. And then, phew, right? But I worked through it. And it was probably after my second or third spiritual awakening that my resistance with money and career and my, like, just completely dead in the water. And then everything started to flow to me and go because I always knew, right? And that is, I mean, I think that's something very positive when, as an aftermath to spiritual awakening, is that our knowing, our consciousness, our soul kicks in every step of the way, little by little, and you trust it completely. And that's the amazing thing, is after a spiritual awakening, you end up trusting without needing evidence. You don't need to see the face of God. You don't need to see your angel or your spirit guide next to you. And that in itself is so amazing and so beautiful. I'm going to say it because, like, I get goosebumps every time I talk about it, or preach about it, as some people say, because it's true though. You just fall into this thing of knowing. And that's why sometimes you come off indifferent to people, like you don't care,
Dead inside.
like it doesn't bother you, dead inside. Stone heart. I got called stone heart many a times. I don't have a stone heart. I'm an empath. I just don't let certain things face me like that anymore. And you will find in the aftermath, if you're still attached to relationships or energies that no longer resonate to where you're going, those energies will trigger you. Those energies will, rummage around your life kind of to pull you back down. And you won't be able to, that's the funny thing, you won't be able to go down. You will not be able to go down to their level again after you've started spiritually awakening and in the aftermath. Even after, if after your spiritual awakening has settled, because it never goes away, it just settles for a while, and you reconnect to someone that always maybe stir the pot, always negative, always paranoid, always suspicious, and you still have those people in your life, it's going to affect you mentally, emotionally, and physically. Trust me, because it happened to me even recently. It affects you. And then once you decide, or once you realize that it's time to just put those connections maybe on the shelf and put that situation on the shelf, because right now it's just not, it's not in the same alignment as you, all that stuff actually does magically disappear. And it's freaky, but just take it as a sign that that is why after your spiritual awakenings, the path of loneliness is sometimes required, because you've got to learn that you've outgrown things, even if you don't want to accept it.
And a lot of it is because you have suppressed like these, fear, anger, like just those things emerge, like those things will really come up. Like you are going to have so many feelings of that during your awakening and so many questionings. But those bringing those to the surface allows you to clean them away for healthier
Yeah.
mindsets. And that's a lot of the problem with a lot of people who do suffer from, challenges, is because they aren't willing to look it in the face and say, okay, these are, and to experience it. You have
Yeah.
to, work through something. You don't work past it or work over it, you
Don't
know.
bypass it.
Yeah, you need to work through it because there's a reason. And when you're done or you get to it, you don't really know when you're done. But when you get to the point, you're going to feel like, like you're in a void or there, and
Yeah.
like yeah, like
Perfect way to describe it. Avoid, because that's what it feels like.
yeah.
The in between. Yep.
And at that point is where you need to stabilize because that's where you're going to be trying to figure out who are you. And it's going to be a bit
It's a new identity,
challenging.
guys.
Yeah. So you're, potentially going to be wondering, who you are now. That's a big thing. Who am I now?
Yeah.
Why don't I care about this stuff? So
Yep.
you to be kind of alone at that period allows you that time to settle into who you are. And because your ego has now been broken away, you get more of a sense of oneness. Um, you can start to actually feel feelings like unconditional love. Those things you don't feel prior to that, uh, because you don't know how, because it's never been afforded to you. And, things that would have been made you feel like you were successful before are no longer things that make you feel successful.
100%.
So you have
As a
complete
workaholic,
shift of
that's
perspective,
true.
right?
Very true.
And again, then we talked about like that's when you go into like a hermit mode then, right? Because relationships and these changes or whatever just you don't align with the old stuff anymore. And after you get to that point, then that's when you can maybe reconnect with some people that maybe you do feel a sense with. But it's more important to do things like keep you grounded, spend more time in nature, look at eating cleaner foods, stop intake, like the massive intake of news. That's where I found it huge for me is I had to
Oh, yeah. I
stop
don't
that.
even anymore.
I
Yeah. I
used
don't
to
even
have
anymore.
it, I would play, at the time, I would play like a radio station that had, like Coast to Coast. So it was Art Bell. And I'm not sure if
Okay.
you know who Art Bell was, but Art Bell was like, he was awesome. He talked about, spirits, he talked about aliens, he talked about demon, you know, he just talked about all that
All
stuff.
of
And
that.
it was
Yeah.
overnight. And in that, I would listen to that all night. I had it playing on the radio. And then in between that, every half an hour, there were like news reports because it was like talk radio, right? So I would actually wake up some days very agitated and not really understand why, or know about stuff that I don't remember seeing. But it's like, oh, you know, like I knew about, like I knew about some this or that, but that's because I was ingesting it almost 24/7.
Yikes.
And it's actually got to the point now where like I have a TV and everything, and I've got all the streaming stuff because of my kids, but I
You don't watch it.
never like I turn on
Me
my
too.
TV and it basically just lights up my room, and that's it. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I try to watch stuff, but to me, a lot of the stuff that I liked before is no longer of interest to me.
Mm.
And I just see it, and it's almost like I see, I'm probably really annoying to go to a movie or watch a show with because I see patterns too, right? With my
Yeah.
with my mind, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is stupid. Why would they do that?" And so like I'll ruin it for people just because to me it's just like, "Oh, come on." Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
ridiculous. And you know, I feel bad cuz they'll be like, "What?" You know. Um but that's who you are, and you don't take in all of that superficial negative. um it's because the news is awful.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to news. I'm gonna be honest with you. None of it. None of it.
No, no.
And listen, before anybody goes up there and be like, oh my God, you and Kim should pay attention. Like, we pay attention to the big stuff, but we also know that a lot of it is poo poo, and
Hmm.
a lot of it is exaggerated, and a lot of it is not true. So
Hmm.
we're just not gonna bother because we know. So
And
why?
we're not going to put our energies into something that's going to make us feel bad.
No.
And what can we do about it?
Yeah, we don't want to argue. We don't this is why Kim and I will never talk about politics other than telling you guys that we don't have a party. Okay. We're never going to engage in that stuff. I have gotten questions about what Kim and I think when it comes to women's rights and certain, bills and stuff. And maybe one day we'll talk about that. We're not anti-feminist, but we're not super feminist either.
No.
But these are things that we like. It's not that it doesn't interest us. We like hearing about it. We like reading about it. It's fascinating, but we are not going to have it engulf us because there is no point.
No. There's nothing that you can say or do that is going to change any of the situations. You're not suddenly going to make everything all better in different parts of the world. And so you will just realize that you're the only one to be concerned about.
Exactly. You, your reality, your world. That's what you've got to hone in and focus on.
You know, don't fight it because then you can get sick, right? If you start fighting these
Yeah.
things and keep doing it and forcing the stuff on yourself because you feel like you need to know it, you'll get sick. And a lot of, I believe, because that's one of the times that you will have a spiritual awakening is when you are basically diagnosed with an well, mostly autoimmune
Yeah,
um,
100%.
things because those you're allowing those in and they're toxic and they sit in your
Yeah.
body. And you know, my
I feel
favorite
like she's
one.
calling me out right now.
Well, no, because I remember. So what time like
Mine's a remission.
when I
I
was
got rid of it, Kim.
when I was like losing all the money and everything else, and I'd go to my rheumatologist, and I had just been diagnosed at the time with lupus
Yeah.
and SLE, and it was pretty, you know, it was pretty significant at the time. And then I would go to the doctor, and I was going through so much stuff in personal life, and I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, like I was losing weight left, right, and center. And the doctor would say, "Oh, just try not to be stressed." Well,
Oh, that's what I got with mine.
thank you.
I know. I was like, can I see my doctor? Because she was sick that day. I was like, I will wait till she gets in.
You know, if you want to find a way to stress someone out, tell them
Jesus.
to not be stressed out. or tried to not be stressed out while their life is completely falling
It was
apart.
was it a
And
male doctor? It was a male doctor, right?
no,
Really? See, mine was a male who said that. And then I was like, that's it. I'm waiting till my doctor gets in because she was
no,
away.
no. She was an older, I think she was like maybe from like Syria or something. But she was an older lady and
Hmm.
she's
Hmm.
since retired. But it was funny because I would go into this and she was like a geriatric rheumatologist, like a internist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was referred to her by my dermatologist, who is the one who diagnosed me with lupus, because my GP had sent me there because of the issues I had. And I got in like
Yeah.
quick, 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 right? We're talking, oh, he's not available right now. Okay, it's Friday. Okay, Monday morning. I got through these people really, really quick. So when I went to her, she was like for geriatric people, and I think I was like 31 maybe at the time, 31, 32. So I would sit
Hmm.
in that waiting room, and there would like I would almost felt like a zoo because all the older people would be just staring at me, right? Because I was like several decades younger than these people. Like we're talking like 70s, 80s, 80s. And I'm sitting there at 32, you know. Um, but these awakenings, that's when these things start to happen. Like you start to see these things, like especially like if it is a health, you start to realize, what am I consuming that's causing me to be so sick?
Yep.
Because it's your fault.
That's a hard lesson to learn sometimes. Oh, it's
And
100%.
you know,
100, it was 100%. It was my fault. That was the hardest thing for me. Kim was there. That was the hardest thing for me to realize that what I got diagnosed with last year was 100% my fault.
yeah,
It sucks.
yeah. And I'm not saying that you don't, like yes, yes, like it's somehow it's genetic or whatever, but most of this is because you don't allow yourself to be you. You put
Yeah.
too much pressure on you. And when you have an awakening, that's when all that stuff falls apart. And you start to realize, this is me. And I went to the rheumatologist, my new rheumatologist, who is a man. Um, it was like 2 years ago, in January. But at that point, I had gone through my spiritual awakening and I was clearing out what I needed to clear out. And I was still a mess, but I was like very well along the way. And suddenly he's not finding anything. And I've cleaned up my diet. Like you know, regular food doesn't even
Yep.
appeal to you. Junk food doesn't appeal to you, so he was just like, wow, what are you doing? And he actually said, okay, well, make an appointment to come see me in a year. Go get your blood work in 6 months. But
Right. Right. Right.
I didn't go to him for 2 years. I'm like,
Because you
oops.
didn't need to.
And he just said, like, yeah, keep on doing what you're doing because there's no evidence. And that is just because I have taken taken the chance to not allow all these
Yes.
outside forces into my body, whether through food, through media. I do listen to too much social media, so I know that affects it too. But you know, you can go through once you've gone through an awakening, you can go through other ones. I'm not saying they're going to be any less difficult, but I can tell you that I'm kind of going through one right now, and it is not at all like I'm not spun out about stuff.
No,
I
you're
just,
handling it
you know,
very. It's like you're so steady.
yeah, because I just know that spirit has my back and that this is
No,
something
and
I need to go through. I wish I didn't have to go through. But I'm just okay, let's get through it. Let's work through it and get to where we need to be so we can be better and healed and things will, go from there. Um, so I find that's a
but I just want to say, and that will happen to you. Everybody, that will happen to you. Might not happen with the first one or the second
Mhm.
or the third or the fourth, but you will get to that steady level that Kim's at, and she is going through something very. I don't know how most people would be able to handle this. I'm going to be honest. And she is very steady. You will get there. You do get to that level where it's like it's you. There's like no panic. There's no panic. And there's nothing wrong with you. Like, there's nothing wrong with Kim. It's that she has 100% conviction that this is going to work out in her favor, because that's the end of it.
Mhm.
And you get there eventually. It might not happen right away. So don't give up and don't think that it will never happen to you, because it will. You will get to the level that Kim's at. You will. Oh, 100% you will.
And it's not easy, but when you
No.
get there, you're so grateful for all the times in the past that you've gone through these, that you were kind of like crazy. We're all a little crazy, by the way. Um, yeah, you
Love
just,
it.
because you have the history of knowing that you are who you are, and nobody can make you not you, and nobody can take that away from you. And when you just believe that it's going to happen, might not always happen, but I personally believe, okay, well, there's not a whole lot I can do to change the situation. Well, there's nothing I can do to change the situation. There's nothing I can do, I could have done to prevent the situation. So why am I to be stressed out about? Why will I want to, attack myself for not doing what I should have
Yeah.
done? You
Yeah.
know, and that is a part of having lost that ego. I don't care, yeah, not, I don't need the whole world to know this, my story, but I don't care that the people who do know, um, if they judge me, because, well, then that says about them, right? Because if I'm
Yeah.
on somebody's side, I'm on their side to be on their side, to be supportive. If somebody judges you, they're not your people. And it makes it so much easier to come to that realization in relationships when you get to this point as well.
That's the perfect way to end this episode. I'm all about segues. I'm all about segues.
All about segues, yeah. Do you have a
I'm
question?
sorry. I do have a question. And
Okay.
I like this one. Um,
Okay.
what brings you guys the greatest sense of peace? I like this question because I had somebody that I'm very close with, very fond of, always ask me what was the one thing I wanted out of life, and my answer is always like, "I just peace, just peace," and that's been my answer for years, and that's going to be my answer until the day I die. Because and it wasn't that I had a crazy, toxic childhood. I didn't. There was stuff going on in my childhood that, no kid should go through, but it was not nearly as heavy as most. But I always knew I just wanted a sense of peace. And I definitely felt for the first time this year in January that I am finally in a sense of peace. So that question is interesting to me because what brought me to feeling the greatest sense of peace is actually getting diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, knowing it was my fault, and then having to let go of what I realized I was still holding on to, because I did know for the last couple of years I had been going through a spiritual awakening, because sometimes they're different depending on what's going on in your life. And I had no idea for the last 2 years I was knee deep in one because I wasn't paying attention with this scenario. And the second I got hit with that diagnosis, I'm out. And the disease is in remission. Everything within 30 days, my doctor was shocked. So what brings me the greatest sense of peace is that I finally let go because I started to pay attention. So paying attention brings me peace. It does. So that would be my answer. And reading, obviously, because I like to read.
So, okay, so tell me the question again. I have to.
What brings you the greatest sense of peace? Which I know was supposed to be something like, oh, reading, taking bubble bath.
Mhm.
Yes, I like to read. That brings me peace too. But I'm just saying, I finally got to the level of peace after, as Kim's story was, I was diagnosed with something. That was my fault.
Great. All right. Oh, for me,
This podcast.
I think so. Uh,
Oh my God.
hmm?
I said I was joking.
No, but seriously,
It does, yeah.
to get to a point where I can speak freely about what I have learned, where I'm at, without fear of you know, people yelling at me, people telling me, oh, like so, I have enough people like, oh, you're cheat, you know, you cheat or people or whatever, or
Cheat?
you're, or like, no,
Yeah,
like, you know,
cheat.
well, because people think
Oh,
mediumship is
oh,
like,
scammers. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, you
scammers.
know,
Okay. Okay.
you do that stuff or whatever. And it really makes it kind of, it would upset me a lot more. And it kind of makes me laugh, but I am at peace because I think what brings me the peace is I can be who I am. I can say what I want. Uh,
Yes.
and I don't fear what that's going to do to me. And that's an amazing feeling because I didn't have that until, you know, the last few years. Well, probably the last year or so
Mhm.
has really been the most. And that to me has brought me the most peace. Like I used to just, my head, like I'm sure I have OCD because in my head, I would have to repeat things in my head. I would have, you know, I'd have
Okay.
like bad things would happen and I'd repeat, you know, like, or, you know, why is this going? And I would just,
I see. I see what
you
you mean.
know,
Yeah.
like you ruminate. And I don't do
Yeah.
that anymore. And that is just so beautiful because I can actually sit back and look at myself almost like I'm sitting, you know, watching myself just go along life and be like, yeah, you're okay. And you're going to be okay. And you're grateful too. You know, that's just,
I love that.
I think that is probably me. Just to be in this spot, to have this ability because I can tell you I know how hard it is when you can't shut your mind off and you're chastising yourself for everything that's said or
Yeah.
done. There's no need to do that.
Yeah.
We're all human. Worry about yourself, not about others.
Exactly. Exactly. This was a good episode.
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Well, I really hope that.
I hope we answered some, questions because we get a lot about spiritual awakenings. We do. We
Mhm.
get a lot of clients or people, just asking me or asking Kim randomly. We get a lot of this stuff, but it's spiritual awakenings. There, you can't put it in a box. There's so many aspects to it when you're going through it. To the aftermath. I mean, feeling lonely is one aspect of the aftermath. Then there's the reconstruction, then there's finding your place, and then there's being authentic. Like there's all these things, and we might do another episode about what else you go through in the aftermath other than loneliness and losing connections, right? Because it's so vast. But we do know one of the biggest ones is feeling lonely and feeling misunderstood. Like you don't have anyone who's got your back. People think you're loco,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People still think Kim and I are crazy, so don't worry about it.
That's all right.
Yeah,
When my
whatever.
friend was my friend was dying, in 2012 there, I remember will never forget the one day she said, I'm crazy. You must think I'm crazy. And I just said, honey, we're all a little crazy. Don't you worry.
Exactly.
And she was like, okay. She was just at peace, right? Because she was at that
Yeah.
point where she was,
Yeah.
trying to struggle with it. And, she knew she was dying. And that's a
Hmm.
very challenging time for people, especially
Yeah.
when you're not given much notice. And yeah, we're all a little crazy and be proud of it.
Yeah.
And just know that if somebody isn't with you anymore, there's a reason. And don't let it bother you. Don't think it's something you did. A lot of times it's just because
Mm-mm.
your vibrations are not at the
Exactly.
same level. And you can still
Exactly.
care about them. Um, but
Oh,
don't,
please do send them that love. Think
yeah.
about them, pray for them, meditate for them, whatever it is. When you feel called to do that energetically, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But sometimes accept it that right now you're going forward and they just have to stay put for a little while. That's usually what happens. You go and they stay, and that's fine,
Don't
right?
let them
It's all
drag
right.
you into conversations
Yeah.
of things that you don't want to talk about or things that can be upsetting to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but just be proud of your own truth. Live your truth. And your truth does not come from other people.
Yeah. It's your own. It's authentic. It comes from your consciousness and your soul. Whatever it is you believe you have in here, that's where it comes from, not from anybody else's.
You betcha. What? So yeah,
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode.
what are we at? 35? Goodness.
34? No, 35,
This is
35. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
35. Yeah.
This is 35. We're almost at 40. We got a really interesting one. The next episode, Kim's going to do a mediumship reading with me so that you guys can see it's not scary at all. Okay. So that will be interesting. That will be fun. And that I will put after that if anybody wants to reach out to Kim, I will put the special link there specifically for Kim that you guys can reach out to her if you want to book after that or ask her questions about it. But I think that everyone's going to really like that episode. I think it's going to be an experience, and I'm expecting nothing because that's what I learned with the last one. Expect nothing going in there because what you expect ain't going to happen.
With it, I'll probably also just kind of talk about, some of the stuff around mediumship and
Yep.
just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Alrighty.
we'll use Nikki as our lab rat for that day.
That's right. That's right. Hopefully nothing embarrassing happens.
But to keep these going, she can edit it. So,
I can.
but we want you to go YouTube, Spotify, like, share, subscribe, hit the little dingy bell so it comes up,
Hit the
you
bell.
get notification, the little bell when you know. Comment, please comment, because your comments will bring other people
Big
there.
help. All of that is a big help, guys. All of that, even if it's a thumbs up or heart or star or whatever it is. That's
Yeah.
it.
And we'll look at
That's
them.
it.
We do look at them all.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate every single one of you and
Me too.
our 35 long episode journey so far.
Woohoo. I know.
I was
Excited.
looking at stuff about seasons. I'm like, seasons?
Yeah, because I called it season 2 in January.
Yeah, but
Anyway. Okay, guys.
anywho,
Have a fantastic evening, a fantastic week, and we will see you for the next episode, which I know is going to be very fun and I think that one's going to be very enlightening as well. All
hopefully
right?
it's fun. So
It will be.
we will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.